Hello and welcome back to Fantasy Turf War, the coolest fantasy football league on the planet. Yep, the playoffs are just around the corner and things are starting to heat up. This is season 2, episode 27, overall episode 103. We're headed into the home stretch of the regular season, and we are streaming live anywhere you can find us. Subscribe, like, or share our channel, or just listen in whenever you want to. But we do appreciate you listening in or contributing to our conversations. And when I say we, tonight it's just going to be Adam as my co-host. So let's bring him in and say welcome. Introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. I am Adam, known as DJ Dove with the Fantasy Couriers, and I'm for the Fantasy Turf War. I'm representing a group called Men's Alliance, a men's ministry that I'm a part of. I actually wear my shirt every week, but I'm here, and it's been a fun season. This has been like a adulthood. It's not a childhood dream because there was no podcast, but it's been my adulthood dream to just be a part of, just have people that I can sit and talk football with. I got it with JJ Wang. It's helped us to connect back, but here it's just something fun, and it's been a great season. I've had a lot of fun with this.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I am Cameron. I'm representing Shelter Dogs for Veterans. And you seem to sport all the right clothing, but today I'm sporting Star Wars Christmas. So I think each show this month I'm going to be wearing a Star Wars Christmas shirt. So, and to me, we are in full stream of the Christmas season too. Now that we're past Thanksgiving. Speaking of which, Thanksgiving and food comas and things like that, we've titled our show appropriately, I think, which is Food Coma from Thanksgiving, Don't Sleep Now. And maybe a lot of people out there have had teams or players that had food coma right after Thanksgiving. I know I sure did. I did appreciate the competitive games that they had between Thursday and Friday and some of the results, I guess. But all 3 games on Thanksgiving Day were upsets, according to Vegas, and Friday was an upset as well. But from a fantasy perspective, I felt it was either hit or miss with some of the key players, either going boom or bust. But let's recap the 4 games before the weekend began. So, Adam, do any of these games stand out to you from the 4? We're talking about Green Bay over Detroit, Dallas over KC, Cincy over Baltimore, Chicago over Philadelphia. Any of those stand out? And who do you think gained the most and who lost the most out of this?
The last 2 were intriguing to me, but I'm gonna highlight the Bengals versus the Ravens. So for us, we're talking fantasy here. So I mean, the Bengals, they're 4-8. They're pretty much toast. To make the playoffs, they've got to win every single game, more or less. I mean, that still probably doesn't get them into the playoffs, but they got Joe Burrow back. That is spectacular news for one of my fantasy teams. I am not a Joe Burrow fan. He came in, I was like, I just didn't like Joe Burrow. There's certain people and he's a stellar player, stellar athlete, everything, won the national championship. I mean, he gets that team, holy moly. But he came back, did nothing but pick right up and do what Joe Burrow does. 261 and 2 touchdowns. Brown got a handful of yards, and then we had, Jamar Chase just going bonkers on us. So it was spectacular. But that was good for fantasy. On the other side of the ball, Lamar Jackson actually threw for a boat ton of yards, 246, but he looked terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely putrid. He had the interception. I forget how many fumbles. 2 fumbles. And it just it looked like every time he was trying to do every time he took 3 steps forward, he took about 18 backwards. And the Ravens, the team that we thought and Vegas thought was going to run away with the AFC North, look a little floundering. It looks pretty putrid that I might have to take back. I mean, the Bengals are 2 games behind the Ravens with 5 to go. If the Ravens play like this, they're toast. I mean, Derrick Henry only touched the ball 10 times. Ran the ball 10 times, sorry. And had 1 reception, which was amazing for 44 yards. But you don't give one of the best running backs in football 10 carries. He got 60 yards and touch, thank goodness. But imagine if they actually gave him some touches. It's not like the Bengals blew the doors off. But yeah, that one.
Yeah, and I watched the pregame before since he took the field, and Joe Burrow was out there. It's like, look, we haven't had a great season. I've been hurt. I'm just paraphrasing, but he said, look, we get paid a lot of money to play, and so we're going to do our best. And it's like, that was really cool. Out of, Joe Cool, and that's what they did. You got, like you said, we got exactly what we thought we were going to get out of Burrow when he came back with him being healthy. And with Baltimore losing, oh boy, yeah, that means that Cincinnati's not out of it. That means that Pittsburgh and Baltimore are now tied. So, and they play each other this week. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. So yeah, it's not over. I was actually amazed to see how many teams had only been eliminated just this weekend, and it's not very many. It's telling me a team like the Jets still have a mathematical possibility? No way.
They were eliminated in the preseason, so that's sort of over.
But I think the game that stood out most in my mind was Green Bay and Detroit. I was expecting fireworks, basically. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get when you get a conference game like that. And we said it last week. Detroit has not won on Thanksgiving since 2016. Well, that continues now. Green Bay, I didn't know what you were going to get out of Jordan Love because he threw up almost nothing the Sunday before, and he lights it up. I mean, I benched Love on one of my teams, and it's like, that was probably a mistake, but I could not take the chance at this pivotal moment of putting up another meager 6 points, and he put up 4 touchdowns, and it's like, okay. Green Bay made a statement that game. I'm hoping Detroit did not make a statement as well. You wonder how much of that is going to linger on. You think with the coaching staff there, they're not going to let it. But at the same time, Detroit has dug themselves a hole now. They could ill afford to have lost in the way that they did. Now, Green Bay puts themselves in the conversation of perhaps outright winning the division because of the tie with Dallas early in the season. So amazing way some of these things play out. I thought it was also crazy how each of the teams that were favored lost. That was, I mean, they didn't cover the spread. They just outright lost, I don't know how many times that actually happens.
The Chicago-Philly game, if nothing else, Chicago is the number 1 seed in the NFC right now. That is insane. I'm going to talk about them a little later, but they're the number 1 seed in the NFC. Let that settle. And if you've watched the Bears this year and they're the number 1 seed, that's weird. Doesn't make sense.
It's weird. It's also very unsettling. And even the commentators on the game, because I watched the game, of course, I had nothing better to do on Black Friday. They said beating Philadelphia, I think, was the only above 500 team that they'd actually beaten this season.
But that's because their schedule is the last place.
Yeah, I mean, a win is still a win. But I will say it now: Chicago's not that good of a team. They're not that good of a team.
The playoffs. They got to win 1 game, and that's 10. That's in the playoffs.
Well, I can hope against hope again. But I mean, upsets was a big theme this weekend. I mean, in fact, there were some other upsets as well. Houston beat Indianapolis, the Jets over Atlanta, if you call that even a game worth considering. And then Carolina over to the Rams. That was amazing in itself, that game, how that finished. But there were also, beyond the upsets, there were a couple squeakers that probably should have been that close. And these are teams that you would have thought would have been running away with their divisions. That's Denver and Tampa Bay. They both let that game get way too close. But again, a win is still a win, and they're still control their own fates at this point.
Jacoby Brissett, man. Jacoby Brissett.
I did pick him up. I did play him, so I wasn't horribly disappointed. I still had that floor working for me, so at least I got points. It wasn't Jordan Love points, but I still got enough to keep me in the running. So there were several of those teams that lost in week 13. They did not pick an ideal time for a loss, of course, which week is. But with fantasy, I think the same thing can be said. I mean, right now, most leagues either have 1 or 2 regular games left before the playoffs. So really, it's not a time for your players to go missing, and certainly not a time for fantasy owners to fall asleep on their rosters. We know it does happen. So, again, that's part of our theme for this week is don't fall asleep. There's still a lot more to be had here. Take a vested interest in it. So, but let's talk about playoffs for just a moment, and we're going to talk about Fantasy Turf War playoff structure. So here at Fantasy Turf War, 8 total teams make the playoffs. It's coming from 4 different divisions, and that means, of course, only the top 2 advance. We are on the Yahoo platform, which does not handle that format at all. So this is where the commissioner will take the rosters, plug them into a spreadsheet, and then track everything off grid. He, of course, is the only person who's got access right now to all 4 divisions. So it'll go from week 15, 8 teams down to 4. Then week 17 would be the championship game. So that's what that format looks like. That's the same format that we used last year as well. But this weekend, I was eliminated. I played, again, one of the top teams in my division, but I came up short. But I'm going to take something out of your playbook, Adam. I am going to play the spoiler role this week. I take on the number 1 team. And yes, there is something to be had in my division because the number 1 team is only in front by 1 game to second and third. So there's a lot to be had out there. I know Susan was in the hunt when we talked to her a week ago. Susan, we miss you. Hurry back on the next show when you can. Still in the hunt now?
Mm-hmm. Our league, the first team is 9-4. The next 4 are 8-5. And I'm not even going to say I'm playing the 5th. One of those teams that's 8-5 this week that I could take out. Last week, I'm embarrassed. My team put up 46 points, and I put in players at each position too. Lamar Jackson, DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, Jahmyr Gibbs, Pacheco, Ferguson, Aaron Jones, Elliott, and the Green Bay defense. I had Monungai on my bench. I had Cortland Sutton on my bench, Chuba on my bench. I messed up and forgetting to put Bucky Irving in. That one's my fault. But that would have been Pacheco. But that still would have only given me.
Yeah, but in your defense, Bucky Irving, the first week back, you weren't sure what you were going to get. And it wasn't like a monster game for Bucky Irving anyways. But at least you saw some semblance of him coming back to life, and he was super pumped after he scored that touchdown.
Yeah. So I am the last place team with 1, 2, 3, 4. I have more points. Let's see. Oh, my points against is just brutal. That's really where it is. My team stinks too. So I'm glad my team stinks and my points against are pretty brutal. So I'll take that. That's what you can do.
Well, for anybody who's heading to that finish line, best of luck trying to get into the playoffs. Just don't have that epic failure that you're at the door and forget to knock. So don't do that.
I'm going to sleep with the belt for a few weeks.
Yeah, so we may have touched upon some of the headline news already from our discussions, but let's take a shot at some of the headlines from this weekend. So, Adam, take something from a headline, make it ours now.
Well, it's funny. I just realized both of my headlines are from the same game, so I might need to pick another headline. But I talked about the Bears and the Eagles. The Bears, Kyle Monungai has been my boy. I've loved him. Him and Bill were my boys, and one of them still playing great. The other one, Bill, I think is going to go play Canadian football one day. But Kyle Monungai has come on to the point that if you're a dynasty guy, you want to get him because Swift is going to be cut in the offseason. Swift, it's a $1 million buyout, something like that is what they'll lose. Yeah. They're going to dump him because they got a cheap rookie. But both Monungai and Swift, Monungai had 22 carries for $130. Swift had 18 for 135, and they each had a touchdown. And not on top of Swift had a 13-yard reception versus this Eagles team that I think the Bears are a better team than they like. I really do. Like I think the Eagles, they don't look right this year. Something is off as a whole, especially, giving away 130-yard guy, cool. Giving away then a 125-yard guy on top of that, I would hate to be the lineman, the linebackers coming home that week. But I tell you what, my teams are very happy because I've got DeAndre Swift. I have Kyle Monungai all over the place, and Monungai's been getting touchdowns. That's what you can ask for.
It was just pathetic looking at the Eagles defense just giving up 6 or 8 yards at a time, and it's like trying to brew coffee and you're using a fishing net for your filter. It's like it's not going to work at some point, guys. You got to figure out how to stop this. And when they put their minds to it, they did shut down the game. It's like that's all you have to do against the Bears: shut down the running game, make Caleb Williams throw, game over. That's, seems like a simple playbook, but that's what I would do. And I think because they got so far behind, then they had to use A.J. Brown as being your go-to guy, and he had a monster game, which is great for anybody who had AJ Brown, and they didn't bench him this week. So I mean, it's like it's one thing kind of feeds the other, but I am not sold on Chicago at this point in time. I think they've had too much of a cupcake schedule, and I think it will show when they get to the playoffs, if they make it to the playoffs. It'll show. They don't have the chops to hang with any of the teams that are not right now, I don't think. But we're going to find some of the tests coming up here for Chicago, because they've got not an easy schedule coming up here to get to the end of the season. So more to come there. One of my headlines, I was watching a Monday Night Football game with the Patriots and the Giants, and it was clear as a bell. You could hear them chanting MVP. And it's like, I think they have a lot of people in the nation kind of starting to jump on that bandwagon. And not only are the Patriots a good team now, I think, a lot of people who've been Patriots fan in the past when Brady was there, they were looking for another resurgence or another dynasty to start. I think they could have their quarterback for the next 10 years. And he's been having that kind of season that has been turning a lot of heads. And if you look to see who the competition has been for MVP in the last couple of years, they're not doing it this year. They're just not in that conversation. They're not at that elite level at this point. And so I would have to say there got to be some people making a surge in the last few games here to put their name in the hat to be MVP, because would not be surprised at this moment if Drake May got it.
Yeah, I'm still on the Stafford train. I think Drake May makes me want to puke, because we thought we got rid of these good Patriots. Now I've got to go through it again. I mean, my team's terrible as a Miami fan. I mean, Josh Allen, that they won. He looked good, but the Bills, they're in the Eagles boat as far as I'm generally concerned.
No, it is. I mean, think about it. There is something missing from some of these upper echelon teams from last year. In fact, Kansas City, something's missing there. Something's going on. Bills, they're not as dominant as they were in the last 2 or 3 seasons. Philadelphia, it feels like they just don't even have a team identity at this point in time. You've got probably one of the best running backs in the league, and yet he might be struggling to get to 1,000 yards this year, and he had 2,000 last year. Something's seriously wrong with that. And you've got a talented enough quarterback and talented enough resources around him to throw to. Something's wrong there. You could make the same argument with Baltimore, that they should be in that conversation of the upper tier. But of course, Lamar, he was injured for a few weeks. Okay, fine. But even when he has been playing, there's something going wrong there. We know the game script is going to go away from Derrick Henry if they're behind. But still, you expect more out of some of these teams that were the cream of the crop last year, and you're just not seeing it.
And well, speaking of those teams that were cream of the crop, jumping back onto the Eagles, a few weeks ago, AJ Brown told us all to bench him. He said, "Don't play me in fantasy. If you have me in fantasy, don't play me." That was like, I believe it was after he had 3 targets, 2 receptions, 13 yards, putrid thing. Well, AJ Brown since then, 11 targets, 10 targets, 12 targets. The 11 targets was 49 yards. The next week was 8 receptions for 110 yards. Then last week, 10 receptions for $132 and 2 touchdowns. AJ Brown is coming to life. Somebody has to, if the Eagles are going to do anything. And the question JJ Mike posting on Sunday is, we call it what was the segment we were doing? I forget, but basically it was like, do you believe the hype? It's called for real or faux real. Is it for real that he is moving forward? And I think so. I think the targets are showing that, because he had only had double-digit targets until the Detroit game one time. Until the Detroit game, he had double-digit targets one time, and now that's the barometer, is how many targets. And now he's getting the targets. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, they got a tough schedule going forward, but I think the ball's going to be fed through AJ Brown. He's big, he's strong. Saquon, we knew he was going to drop this year. It's statistically, it's historically, it's only a couple of guys have not dropped. I tell people in Dynasty, my advice is grab, if you're next year in a win now window, get him next year because he's going to be really good next year. I think it's that bounce back year next year, and then you're done. But if you're trying to win next year, grab some of him. But yeah, AJ Brown, he's gonna make some teams that were very mad and are probably a 6th seed because he sucks so bad. He's gonna make them win some fantasy games and maybe some, he plays like this. This is league winner type of material.
Yeah, I was watching right up to the game time, and I made a change in my roster to put AJ Brown in with like 2 minutes before game time, and then of course then I see the commentators like, it's so windy here and it's gonna be hard to throw a ball. It's like I probably just made an epic mistake by putting an AJ Brown on Black Friday, and I was pleased that they started throwing early and often to him. Last year, I think everything ran through Saquon first. You try to get Saquon opened up, and then it's going to open up the passing game. And this year, they couldn't open up Saquon. They couldn't get him going. And it's like, well, then let's open up the passing game, and that'll open up Saquon. But they didn't try to do that, I don't feel, until lately. So, again, a team identity issue, I think, there. Any other big highlights or headlines from this past weekend?
I mean, I am excited. You mentioned it earlier. The Panthers, they are a fun team. They're not going to do anything. They're just having fun. They're starting to show. I didn't realize how big they've got some towers at receiver. I think they said on the when I was watching the game, I think all receivers they're either over 6'2" or over 6'3", which is big boy, tall receivers. And they beat who I still think it's so weak. I think the Rams are still the best team in football. I think it's the Rams, and then there's like a line. I watching them play. It's just this any given Sunday. Panthers. I mean, the Panthers are 7-6. They're making some noise. We'll see if they make the playoffs. But next year, I think it's going to be interesting to see where they go. Because that to me that was a fun surprise to see. Like I watched it for Puka. I watched it for Adams. I mean, Adams is all of a sudden. JJ Wang was trying to throw Puka under the bus, and I wasn't. I let him talk for a second. I was like, wait a second, Puka. The reason Puka doesn't look great is because Adams has a gajillion touchdowns. Puka still has, I think, 86 receptions. He's putting up all of that. He's just having a Julio Jones type year, doing really well, and having two guys there is. I'm not throwing either of those guys to the curb, but it's nice for us guys that are on win now teams that have some Devontae Adams going, wow, look at this. Surprise! He's getting 40 yards. He's like a good tight end is what he is this year for the most part. 40 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's something crazy like that. That was a fun shock to see. And dude, you got to say it. What did Susan say last week? How about
them Cowboys? Well, they did put away Kansas City, so you got that going for us, and it's one of those situations where I thought that was gonna be a good litmus test. You had a Kansas City team who we've talked about the last couple of weeks, must-win situations now. They stole that game away from the Colts the weekend before. It's like they needed to take one of those games, and then plus also win the other games that they should win. And they were favored to beat Dallas, and they didn't do it. So they put themselves in a bad position there. But
Dallas is a playoff team. Dallas will be in the playoffs. They play Detroit, Minnesota, San Diego, Washington, and the Giants. 3 of those in those 5 games are gimmies. That gets them to 9. They pull off. Say they pull off Detroit. Detroit and the Chargers are the hard games, right? Say they pull off the Chargers. I think Detroit might reel back. But Detroit, that should be like a 50-49 game or something. But that offense is so good. The defense is starting to play. Williams has stepped up. Watch out for them Cowboys.
You never know. I've banked on them too many times and been disappointed. So I'd rather play more even keel and say, well, if they win, then great, But right now, I don't have much of a stock in my fantasy teams with the Cowboys. Maybe purposely this year, I don't know. But
they can't go 8-8. That's the good news.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
I think 9 wins will get you someplace, but I think it's going to take more than 9. Okay, you look at the West. And you've got some talent in that division out there. You've got a lot of teams right now in the NFC who's got 9 wins, or knocking on the door of 9, and I think it's going to take 10 to get into the playoffs. But you just don't know. I think one of the other things that surprised me this weekend was Seattle's defensive explosion. They put up 30 points. It's like that's like almost unheard of for defenses. I was playing against somebody who was like cheering because they had their Seattle defense, and I was playing Seattle defense in another game. So I was both benefactor and exo-factored on the other one too. So
I saw someone say that if they had started JJ McCarthy instead of Brosmer, they would have scored more points. But it killed JSN. Like the defense, awesome. It killed everybody else on the team because
seriously.
The offense did nothing. Literally, Sam Darnold had 128 yards. Running backs had 50. JSN.
I had people saying, "I'm going to bench Darnold, or I'm going to go find a different quarterback." It's like, what happened? It's like, well, I'll tell you what happened. Again, it's so much time. It comes down to game script. You're up by a lot. You don't need some people to do a lot of work for you. And that defense, they showed up. It's not the first time they've done it this season either. They've showed up in a big way here this past weekend. So, man, there are so many different storylines, but I know we've got to get moving forward here. And I think it's time to take a word from our sponsor. Normally Susan reads this and Adam does all of the animations behind it. And I was actually going to read it anyway, so Susan could watch them this time. So, but let's get going here. Let's take a quick time out to shout out to our partners at Alpha Clash, the indie comic book trading card game that turns every match into a lore-driven battle for glory. In the Alpha Clash universe, super-powered contenders collide in a fast-paced game that perfectly blends fun and competition. Build your deck, unleash devastating abilities, and outmaneuver your opponents in a game that is just as much about brains as it is about bold moves. The artwork will pull you in, the gameplay will keep you coming back, and the growing global community awaits. So head to alphaclashtcg.com and start your journey today. That's alphaclashtcg.com. It's time to enter the clash. Well done, Adam.
Oh, you were watching?
I was trying to watch it and read at the same time. Not an easy task, I might say.
How'd you pull that off?
Yeah. Well, let's dig into today's show. So today's show is about not sleeping on your team or your league, especially now. You or your players may be experiencing that Thanksgiving Day food coma, or some call it holiday hangover, but there is too much on the line to have that oops moment, or for people my age, I call it the senior moment. We can only control what we have submitted for our lineups. I always joke that I always give my team a pep chat before the game, but that doesn't make any sense, But I think there are some teams that got hit hard this weekend that may not recover very quickly. And that alone could impact your lineup or who you submit. So the teams that I think primarily come to my mind right now, we talked about Philadelphia. We know Lions are kind of lingering at this point in time. Kansas City just got beat on Thanksgiving Day against Dallas. And then Indianapolis, boy, none of those teams could afford a loss this past weekend. I mean, but you want to look at week 14 coming up. The NFL put together a very intriguing set of games for this weekend. There is a lot riding on play of hopes. Yes, there are still weeks 14 through 18 to go through the regular season here, but a win is still a win, but losing could put them in a really, really bad position. So let's take a deep dive into these matchups and pick a winner here. So we're looking at Dallas at Detroit. This is the Thursday night game. Detroit favored by 3.5. We just talked about Amon St. Ra perhaps not playing. I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised that the odds are favored by Detroit by 3.5 with that in mind. So again, both teams right now kind of looking the outside, looking in. I think they're going to need some help. They're definitely going to have to take care of their business, but neither one of these guys can lose. What do you think? Who's going to win this one?
I mean, 3.5, isn't that like just a smidge more than the home field advantage, more or less?
Yeah.
I think it's a shootout. I mean, fantasy, we're looking at a prime jewel. Like Thursday night games usually kill you on fantasy. Hopefully they don't pull that Thursday night thing. But I mean, we're looking points galore. This I said earlier a couple minutes ago. This should be a 51-48 game or 52-49, whatever I said. I mean, we're looking. I think Detroit takes this because this isn't one that Dallas necessarily needs. When I was looking at those 5 games, this is one that I picked up as a loss because in Detroit. It's they both have had the same amount. It's a great planning by the NFL because Thursday night games, guys usually aren't ready. It sucks. They both played last Thursday, so they've got the whole week together. Both, I mean, they're like 3 hours apart. A whole week together to get ready. So I think it's Detroit. I think it's going to be interesting. Amon-Ra St. Brown has the low ankle sprain. Thank God it's not a high ankle sprain. That would be doomsday for us in fantasy. He already messed us up last week. Well, he helped me. I had a team where the guy against had him. He got a zippy dude. I still put up a great ton of points. And I had him on a team where in our league we play 2 games a week. So I won one. The other one I lost, and I still would have got clobbered. Thank goodness. So the Amon-Ra didn't kill me. But I think if he's not there, look up Tasala on the Detroit to start up, or Jameson Williams is going to go bonkers again. Gibbs is going to bonkers again. Laporta's done for the season. Brock Wright was hurt. So, I mean, there's another kid. Oh, my gosh. Anderson? Is it Anderson? I'll pull it up here in a second. But he came out of nowhere. We're watching. We're like, who is this dude? I think it was some simple name. I think it was Anderson that should do it. And the Dallas guys, they're going to – CD looks like he said, dude, Pickens, this is my world, my team. He's going to do it. But then again, now Pickens bounced. I mean, you're going to play both those guys. Dak's putting up the numbers.
Yeah.
Fergie was low last week. And Javonte Williams is a sneaky, great RB2. I've loved Javonte Williams his whole career. He's a talented back. He just got hit by injuries. And he fell into a great location. I'm hoping he sticks with Dallas for fantasy-wise because he's a great complement to a team that's built on passing and doesn't have any money to spend on anybody. So get a cheap back. But I think you should, if you have these guys on Thursday, you're going to come out going, I like week 14, especially when you don't have Jackson Dart. You don't have, any of the Patriots. I forget the other 2 teams that are on bye hitting a bit, but Detroit.
Patriots and Giants are on bye this week.
And as Sharon says, Detroit.
Yeah, I think the over under is like 54 in that game, so they do expect some scoring to take place. But I agree. I hope this isn't one of those teaser games that you get a 17-10 game. It's like nobody wants to see that. You want to see some high powered action. The teams can both do it. I'm not sure Detroit's got the weapons now. Like you said, there's a lot of players that are just banged up right now. Detroit, but this is where you're probably going to see a huge dose of Jahmyr Gibbs. If you've got him on Detroit, lock and load, baby, lock and load. But I'm still going to be taking Dallas at this point in time. I think Dallas has got all the momentum at this point. Detroit seems like that Green Bay loss might have stung a little bit more than what they thought it would have. But again, if there's anybody who can turn that team around, it is the head coach there. So, all right, let's take a look at this next game. Steelers at Ravens. Baltimore favored by 7. Hey, they were favored by 7 last week and lost by double digits to Cincy. This is going to be an interesting game. Steelers and Ravens, they are tied for the division lead at this moment. I don't know that Steelers have what it takes to stay on the top, but then Ravens show that they have some flaws. And so I think the odds favor Baltimore a lot more than what they probably should. But I think in the end, I wouldn't mind seeing the Ravens win that one, but just purely from a selfish fantasy football league perspective, because I do have some shares of either Mark Andrews or King Henry himself. So who do you see, Steelers and Ravens, who do you see winning that one and how you see it playing out?
Well, this game comes down to the birthday boy, Aaron Rodgers, who's 42 today. I just saw that pop up as I was pulling Aaron Rodgers stuff. And Lamar Jackson, both of whom are terrible right now. I will take a terrible guy that can run over a terrible statue at the moment, and I'm going with the Ravens as well. It's just I have this. I saw somebody at work today or yesterday. I have the feeling this could be Tomlin's year. The year that Tomlin finally doesn't this team doesn't look good, and if you brought in I thought it was a terrible idea to bring in Rodgers. I didn't think they were a Super Bowl team. You bring in Rodgers if you are a super contender, and that's all you need, and you're so good that you can cover up that he's 42. But they're not there. They're not a lottery team. There's not a lottery, but they're not at the bottom of tier. But the Ravens are bouncing back. I think it's a division game, so it's going to be good. This game's just going to be terrible. I could see it being 9-6, something just horrible.
Game of field goals, ugly.
That would kill me. Mark Andrews, I keep playing him because he did so much for me earlier. And then Lamar, you can't. You've got to really have that stud number 2 to bench Lamar. Last week, I have a 2-quarterback league. I started Lamar and Tua. I won, thank God. That was the team I had against Amon-Ra. I should have started Kirk Cousins and Shedeur Sanders. I would have scored about 15, 20 more points. 15 more points, I think it was. I was like, what is going on? But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'll take things that would never happen for 200, please.
Things that'll never do. I don't care how many points. I'm not doing that. I'll bench Tua's bitch, but not.
Yeah, that's strange. But you know what? Give me an 88-yard touchdown run from King Henry this week, and I won't care who wins. But I think Rodgers went to the Steelers because there were probably no other teams left to that he could play. Everybody else had their stuff locked up. But imagine what that team would look like if they still had Pickens on it. Now you've changed the dynamics. Rodgers has nobody really to throw to. They have really no tight end
because they wouldn't be throwing the ball.
Well, you've got DK, which is great. He's a great receiver. I love him. But you can't just do it with one receiver only with no tight end and no elite running game either. So they were not set up for success to begin with. But then Baltimore, who has all of the weapons at their disposal, and look what they've done. Nothing. So I don't know. So who are you picking in summation here? You going with the Ravens?
I'm going with Ravens, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Colts at Jacksonville. Indianapolis favored on the road by 2.5. And now Jacksonville has come out of nowhere to tie up the division lead there. So that's amazing. What are you thinking here?
Jacksonville's run defense is, I think I highlighted it here last week. I do both, but they are the top of the league in run defense. I was trying to pull it up before I got in here, but it's silly the amount of rushing their opponents haven't eclipsed. They have 989 yards. They're giving up 82.4 per game. The bread and butter of why the Colts are so good is Jonathan Taylor. And they're going to basically say, okay, Daniel Jones, throw the ball. We know you're having a good year, but Jonathan Taylor is not. I pointed out the Jonathan Taylor's rest of the year schedule is a bear. I think they play them twice, correct? And it's all like tough run defenses. So those of us that I've got one team that had him who've been rolling on. I had him in my Scott Fishbowl. God rest that team. I finally got eliminated, but that had been banking on Jonathan Taylor. There's some disappointments abounding. I feel like I'm taking chalk by picking the home teams. I don't know, like Indy's favored, but Jacksonville's playing better. Etienne just enough. Trevor's not doing diddly squat in the grand scheme of things, but they're still winning. So if Trevor shows a semblance of humanity, if he shows a semblance of anything, the Colts defense is good. But I'll take good defense over good enough offense any day of the week. And I'm going out on the limb here but it's only 2.5 points. I'm taking Jacksonville. I'll let you take the other one.
You raised some really good points there. I think T-Law has been doing just enough, and he's been missing some weapons most of the season. Yeah. MIA for many reasons. With Jacksonville's defense, and if the game goes where they are shutting down or at least containing Jonathan Taylor, it will force Danny Dimes to throw. I've not been sold on him as being a great quarterback. I think he's been serviceable, and if anybody had JT on their team, I would probably look pretty good too throwing to the receivers because you've opened up the entire field. So I think an elite player like Jonathan Taylor has probably masked a little bit some of the offensive play that Danny Dimes has benefited by. I also see this coming at a halt coming this weekend. I think Jacksonville has everything to play for. Um, yeah, I do like Jacksonville as well for this one. I know it looks like Colts should win this on paper because they upgraded their defense and they have everything going for them at this point in time. Then please tell me if that's the case, why are they now tied with Jacksonville for that division lead? There is something else going on there, I think. So,
man, and they're going to miss sauces week to week with that calf strain. So,
yeah. All right. Great assessment there. I'm going to pull this comment in here from a longstanding listener contemplating playing Daniel Jones over Lamar. We just talked about both those quarterbacks, and then Bo Nix over Lamar Jackson as well. So how would you play that one out? I've got my thoughts.
I think in the first one, you're still playing Lamar. Because Daniel Jones if Daniel Jones has been running this year, which surprises me because he's usually a runner. I think I would take Lamar over Danny Dimes there, even though I'm still worried about a low-scoring game. It's just that's because Jacksonville's defense is really good. And Bo Nix, it's Bo freaking Nix, man. I love me some Bo. Wait, hold on. I got to pull up my who are they playing this week? Sorry, I don't have that up and accessible real quick. Before I get too excited. They're playing the Raiders. Oh yeah, I'm playing Bo Nix 2 times.
Yeah, like that up.
Yeah, so Bo Nix. I mean, you're not giving up much because Bo Nix is higher than Lamar, and even looking at those guys in general, Bo Nix will throw more, and he's running a little bit. They're not even at the beginning of the season ranked that much different. That it's not like you're saying, hey, I'm going to trash Shador Sanders here, which would be foolish. But that's Bo Nix and Lamar.
I would agree. And normally I don't take the contrarian, I agree with everything you say, because I know that's what my issue was with last year. Is like everybody agrees with everything. But, again, I think Daniel Jones has benefited from the system that they've been playing, and you have an elite running back. You're going to have some open passing lanes, and he did take advantage of it. So kudos to him for that. But I would not want to be playing in Jacksonville right now. You've got a home game. They are fanatical up there, and they're going to let the other team know it. I've been in that stadium, and it is crazy when you get this kind of hype, and they've got it going right now. Jacksonville probably did not expect that they were going to be here in this situation, but now they are. I think they're probably going to take care of some business there. All right. Thanks for popping in, Sharon, once again. Let's move on to our next game. Houston at Kansas City. Kansas City favored by 5.5. I think both teams are desperate for wins at this point in time. They both have a lot on the line here. My take on this one is that I think Kansas City still wins this game. I think they're probably going to be pretty upset that they did not win at Dallas, and they had opportunities to. I'm expecting Mahomes is going to have to light up the scoreboard like he did against Dallas, just to try to put down some of the naysayers. I think Houston's a really, really solid team this year. They, again, also came out of nowhere. Houston needs to have that win to stay in the hunt in that same division that we just talked about. So, my heart bleeds for Houston to win that game because I'm not a Kansas City fan. You guys know that, but I do believe that Kansas City wins that game. How do you see that game playing out, Adam?
How about, just to be contrarian, I'll go with I'm pulling out my Houston. I'll go with Houston. I think Kansas City wins. But let's say, why would Houston win? Why should Houston win? Because their defense is top-notch. You got a defensive coach, D'Amico Ryans, building a defensive team. It is stellar. I mean, their run defense is not as good as Jacksonville's. I saw it was like 91.7, 90.7, somewhere in there against Kansas City. But Kansas City doesn't run, so it doesn't matter there. They're going to have to keep their secondary healthy. Now, Petrie was out last week, and he's just a stellar guy in the secondary, and I'm getting like Petri dish right now, so I'm not going to pull him up that quick if he's playing. But let's say CJ Stroud's back another week. Okay, there we go. You're getting him healthy again. Nico, he's going to throw a ton to Nico. This kid Higgins is starting to come. So he's been talking about him a few weeks ago, I believe. Yep. He's starting to come up. Let's say we get Woody marked some passes out of there. I mean, even when Woody went down for a quick hot minute, Nick Chubb had an awesome run to the end zone. Let's put them all in there because Kansas City, they've got if you can't, other than the quarterback, they've got two people. If you stop the tight end, you stop the receiver. I mean, are you going to bank on Hollywood Brown winning the game for you, or Thornton, or any of the? But you're looking at Rashee Rice, who's killer. Like, to me, he is a wide receiver one in this league and will be as long as Patrick Mahomes is in Kansas City. If you got him, play him. Then Kelsey, he's been on the uptick recently. I'm glad that I got him on a couple teams. He's on two of my better teams. He's my tight end. He's having the uptick. But after that, you're not scared of Pacheco. You're not scared of anybody else. Whereas Houston, I think there's multiple ways they could take out Kansas City, and I'll that could be my upset special of the week if I had to pick one. I mean, they shouldn't win, but CJ Stroud I like CJ Stroud a lot as a young quarterback. He still had when they beat the Colts, he had 0 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But he still had 276 yards passing against the Colts defense, which is pretty good. And Kansas City, they're probably right there with the Colts in the grand scheme of watching their defenses play. So let's go risque here. Let's say Kansas City goes into a full-blown implosion because it makes it even better. They lose this week. Now they got to win out. Imagine having to win 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Sunday night game, week 18, Kansas City wins. They're in. They're out. They lose. They're out. Talk about primetime ratings. Booyah. There we go.
Yeah, Houston's defense is very impressive. I mean, I was impressed when I saw them a couple weeks back in a game, and it's like, my gosh, if there is a team that has that kind of signature blueprint like Dallas had against Kansas City last week, it is Houston. You know, they can contain running backs. They can contain a scrambling quarterback. My only fear is that Mahomes just has that magical whatever about him that he'll just heave it, and somehow somebody like Hollywood Brown comes up with the ball in the end zone like he did last week. It's like, where have you been all season, you know? Or Thornton. It's going to be some person you rarely hear of who ends up doing something spectacular. Certainly not something you can put on your fantasy roster, but I don't know. I would love to see Houston win, but I just got a feeling that if there is an NFL conspiracy theory, it's going to be that Kansas City has to win this game somehow.
Houston has only allowed 12 passing touchdowns this season.
That's insane.
Fun stat.
That is insane.
They've allowed 9 rushing because they're not as stellar. I mean, they're only allowing 174 in the air to teams.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's what they need. That's like the same recipe as the last game, but inverse on the other side.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you take a crack at this one too first here. Bears at Packers. Green Bay's favored by 7. This is always a better rivalry. I mean, anybody who lives in Wisconsin or Illinois, you know there are only really 2 games that matter each year, and that's when they play each other. You know, right now, Bears are a half game ahead of Packers in the standings. So whoever wins this one will assume control of that division. And it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But how do you see it play out, Adam?
Packers. I think they're a better team. The Bears, they're playing better. The Bears to me are kind of like the Carolina Panthers. They're a team that's sort of up. I think this week it is. I'm going to talk about it. Sharon's got a question that I'll answer as my waiver pickup stuff, but I think the Bears, we got excited about the running game last week, but the Packers defense is playing like they're supposed to recently. The Packers are starting to spread out. I should have mentioned, the Packers receivers, the hot name of the week is Dontavian Wicks. He came out of UVA, so I'm rooting for him out over here. But is he it, or is it going to be Golden coming back? Is it going to be, it's Reed's coming back? But that's a benefit it comes down to the quarterbacks on these 2 teams. Jacobs could do good against the Bears defense, but I don't think it's even. To me, it's a quick. Green Bay is going to win this division. They're a better team. I still think the Bears make the playoffs because they need 1 win out of 6, which statistically they should get.
Now, if I were to take your stance on this and say, well, what do the Bears need to do in order to win this game? And because I don't like the Bears, I'd say there's not a damn thing they can do. But we also said the same thing against Philadelphia last week. Is like on paper, Philadelphia is a much better team. Chicago is not that great of a team. They haven't played anybody of note, and when they have, they've lost. I was really expecting Philadelphia to, despite all their issues, still manhandle the Bears, and it was the other way around. That running game could not be stopped, and I think Packers have what it takes to stop them. It will force Caleb Williams to throw, and even with having wide open receivers last week, Caleb Williams is still missing his receivers. Either wide open and he short throws it, or throws it too high, or throws it behind them. It's like, this is something you cannot do as a professional NFL quarterback, is be that off. When you have everything at your disposal and to still have mechanical issues, not a good recipe for winning. I would love to see Packers take this and just blow the doors off. Really to show everybody that they are the team. They did it last week to Detroit, who I thought is still a very good team. Detroit is, but I think it's time to put Chicago in their place now. You're not the number one seed. You may be on paper right now, according to records, but realistically, good luck when you get to the playoffs. I think Packers win this game. I'm hoping pretty handily, and we'll see how it plays itself out.
The way the year's going, the Bears win, but I'm calling.
Right? See, our luck, we've probably jinxed everything here of every team, because last week I think we all took the favorites on Thanksgiving Day and Black Friday, and we were all wrong. We got a Go Pack Go in the audience. Yes, I would agree. Go Pack Go. And I almost wore my Jordan Love jersey too. So this last one, Monday night game, it may or may not turn out to be what they hope it would be. And this is Hurts versus Herbert. Philadelphia is at LA, and they are only favored by 1.5. It's a Monday night game. Some questions up in the air right now about Herbert's status. He had some surgery on one of his hands this week.
Non-third.
Yeah. So he also said that if there's a chance he can play, he's going to be playing, and he is tough. He is a good guy. I like both of these quarterbacks. I at this point know that Philadelphia has wiggle room to lose this game. I would rather them not, just because that's going to end up tail spinning the whole organization into that whole conversation we've already had of, you have no team identity. So I think for their sake, I'd like to see them win. But right now, Chargers, I think, have the biggest question marks. You're not sure what you're going to have in terms of receivers. Right now, Herbert is a question mark. Now you've got Vidal, who put up a pretty good game last week, and now Omarion Hampton, who might be coming back as well to help offset, or maybe even be a 1A, 1B situation there. So I think there are a lot of questions there. Coach has got a lot to figure out there, how he's going to play his team against a pretty good, talented Eagles defense. But see what Philadelphia did last week against a good running team, and the Chargers are. Would we be surprised if we see 100-yard rushers this coming week from the Chargers? I would not be surprised. I think I'm going to have to go with the Chargers on this one. Maybe two of them. Maybe two.
I want to go with the Chargers. Marion Hampton's going to be back. That means Vidal is going to be pretty much pushed down. Justin Herbert will play, and last week he didn't really have to, but they also played the Raiders. I mean, he only had 150. I mean, he still had 75. I mean, he still had a QBR of 66, a rating of 108.5. So he still had a good game, but it was the Raiders. The Chargers are a running team, and he had the surgery. It's his non-throwing hand, so it depends upon how much he feels that he can do, and if he doesn't want to re-injure. I mean, one hit and that hand goes, he's going to be padded up like no tomorrow. So I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. I don't want to, because I don't think the Eagles have anything. I think the Eagles are a fledgling team this year. They're not going anywhere, really. I think A.J. Brown's going to have a great game. I think Saquon will continue to struggle, but I think it's going to be A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. They're going to have decent games. And maybe it might even be Goddard, because Brock Bowers had a get-right game versus the Chargers. I think when you're missing your leader, or your leader's not there, that I think it's going to affect that I wanted to say the Chargers, but I'm just going to change it and go with the Eagles just because they are still a well-run team. They're just a team right now that hasn't meshed wholly, but I think they need the win more because the Chargers, let's be honest, they're not a contender, I don't think yet. I think they got the young running back. They got a great quarterback. Their receivers, I mean, nobody got over 39 yards last week. So, and Quentin Johnston's had some goose eggs. He got a touchdown last week, but he's been a stinker for a while. Lad's been all over the place. But EAGLES, bleh.
In the very, very beginning of the season, I believe that the Chargers could be the team to beat in that division. Denver came out of nowhere, a pleasant surprise for many people. I also felt that Chargers could put away Kansas City, and Kansas City would not win that division first time in a very long time. So I think Chargers still a very good team. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch for sure. I'm hoping that Herbert can play. But kudos to the NFL. I know they didn't plan this, but how could you have argued against finding 6 quality matchup games that had playoff implications this late into the season? I think it's going to be some good TV watching this coming weekend. So well done. All right, let's move on. So don't forget about the last teams that are coming up with a bye week. That would be New England and the Giants. And also don't sleep on your roster and use somebody who is injured. Take an active interest, see what's going on. Take a look at who may be confirmed or potential key injuries heading into week 14. Jaden Daniels might be back, so watch on the radar for that. McCarthy's now questionable. He was out last week. Herbert, we talked about him having surgery. And then Darnold came up as a question, came up questionable on the report this morning. Running backs, just to highlight probably the best one of the bunch that's on the radar right now, Amarian Hampton. I am really curious to see where he's going to be in terms of readiness and toughness. I'm on St. Brown for the receiver core. I know he'd like to play if he can, but I think the better part of valor might be to let him sit, get an extra week and a half of rest, and be ready to come back for that final push to the playoffs. You'd hate to see somebody come back too early and then just re-aggravate it to the point where they're not that good. London, Pickens, and Marvin Harrison Jr. also popped up on the questionable status. So again, at home, please do your due diligence. Watch for status of these players and don't take it the chance. Take an active interest and don't let a cheap win go by you. So let's look at the waiver wires, or as I will call it this week, in keeping with our theme, don't sleep on these waiver wire options unless you're playing me this week, in which case Kevin Butler, former kicker for the Bears, might be available on your waiver wire. So again, pick him up if he's there. But as always, your situation at home might likely dictate who or if you should even pick up some of the players that may or may not be available in your league. So let's kick it off, Adam. Give us somebody to talk about here.
Yeah, quick hit before you go in. Also, the Panthers and Niners this week are out. So your CMC list
Niners. Ooh,
and your big 3 list as well. I mean, you can't start Bryce Young. Sorry, guys. But you hit some big names there as far as tight ends and whatnot. What was that? I was doing like 3 things at once. Sorry. So another thing, keep an eye out. Cameron and I were talking before the show, and one of my points was at this point, waivers are not necessarily your league win stuff. You're not going to go. We're not talking about him. You're not going to go pick up Adonai Mitchell, who had a great week. 2 weeks ago, it was John Michie. You're not going to pick up those guys and go, I'm winning my league with the Jets wide receivers. You're looking at guys who might help your team. You're looking at guys that might fill in if somebody goes down. So I got a quick check out for Mike Evans in Sleeper is available in 58.5% of the league. Now, that might really help you if Mike Evans comes back. Like, the thing is, you're going to be scary to start him because we thought he was coming back for a while. But the guy that I want you to add to your roster is Blake Corum. Blake Corum, not because he's going to do anything for you. In the Rams' dream world, Blake Corum does nada. Blake Corum, he got some points this week, but they were neither here nor there. It was just the way the game was dictated. Blake Corum is not generally going to do that. But God forbid Kyren Williams goes down, you got Blake Corum on your team, you just won your fantasy championship because it's a Rams running back. Rams running backs get all the totes. That's what Blake Corum will get. So if you have that roster bench spot, the waiver this week, don't worry about spending it on, AD Mitchell. Don't worry about spending it on, whoever's there or Shador Sanders. Those guys are not going to give you the league. Blake Corum sitting there on your bench, you might never use him, especially if you're a Williams owner. You better have him. But I'm going to should I do the question now or do it at the end during the question time?
Hit it right now if you'd like. Sure, why not?
Sharon was asking Monangai or Corum, and I think that it's a leveled question. Like I would say Monangai as you're picking up if you need someone to make sure like he's going to have a steady role. Like you can figure Monangai is going to get you 40 yards and there's that 0.5 touchdowns, meaning there's a good chance he's going to score the touchdown for the Bears going down the line. Whereas Corum, you're getting zippy.
Yeah.
You're not going to play him. You might put Monangai in your flex. I've got him in a couple flex spots. So if you have a need for a running back or just a flex guy that you want to know will be there, Monangai is a good guy for there because they do play the hot hand. He'll get more touches than Corum. But if you're just filling in your bench for the playoffs, Corum could really help you. Or, the likelihoods, you're still looking 25 to 30% chance that anything happens. Probably lower than that because Kyren Williams is fine.
Yeah, I look at Corum as being more of that insurance policy. And I think a lot of the other media outlets for sports will tell you, oh, here's one of your top 4 or whatever to take this week is Blake Corum because, he got 10 touches last week, and so he's getting a lot more volume we've seen in the past. Well, but if you're not turning that into productivity, then what are you doing? You need to have a game plan, is really what it comes down to. Whether it is the Kyren Williams and Blake Corum situation, or maybe it is another team where you've got that primary running back. Go get that insurance policy. Who is that person's backup at this juncture? For example, you don't want JT to go down, but if he does, who's going to have his backup? It better be you. Better be you. So I think you're right about those things, Adam. Is that some of the people on waiver wires right now may not be your waiver wire winners, but the people that he offered up, Evans from Tampa and Blake Corum, could turn into that. Depends what your situation is. First person I'd toss out here to the waiver wire to say this might be worthy of consideration is Watson from Green Bay, a receiver. When he is hot, he is en fuego. So you will have to roll the dice on this. I know I will have to roll the dice on this weekend because I'm short of receivers, and so I don't have much of a choice. But it's not like I'm going to be cringing on that. I know he's not projected to get a lot, so which means that even if he scores a touchdown, I've already covered all the projected points he was ever supposed to have gotten. So, again, it's a win-win for me. But, again, your situation might be different at home. We've said all along, I'd rather have Jordan Love than have to play Russian roulette with whichever receiver might be the right one to get the ball this week. Last week it was Wicks. Before it's been Dobbs. It was Watson not that long ago either. And, in fact, he has been putting up some touchdowns. Love has a connection with him. If he's available, consider him, put him on your roster, and then, if you use him, just make sure you know what you're getting. It's going to be perhaps a hit or miss situation.
Yeah, I've got Watson on a couple leagues. I picked him up, seeing that he prior to before he was coming out 3 months on best ball teams.
Yep.
Seeing and he's been consistent. You're looking between 40 and 50 yards, and maybe he'll throw in some touchdowns. He had the 2 touchdown week versus the G-Men, and he got 1 this week. And he got what you think Christian Watson's going to get. He's got a 51-yard touchdown, 51-yard reception, and then against the Panthers a 52-yard reception over this week. So Christian Watson is a threat for that kind of a play. And those 2 weeks when he had the bombs, he ended up with 80 yards. So he's getting receptions 4.45. The 2 dead weeks and 4, so it's nothing to write home about. But yeah, he should be rostered, especially with the way people drop. And if you need somebody, the hot hand at Green Bay, you can't do wrong there.
Even with Detroit, there were a couple that he just barely missed getting, would have padded those stats even more. So I know that Love trusts him. It's a matter of now, can Christian Watson create that situation as the receiver? Because I think the elite receivers create their own successes by how they position themselves, how they maneuver inside versus outside, and let that DB just try to figure out where you're going.
And how recovered is he too? I mean, this is an ACL.
He looked healthy. He looked good.
Here, right? So imagine if he's not all the way healthy. What's coming?
Yeah,
like
I've
never been a Watson
solid,
guy, but
yeah. All right, I know Susan's not here, but we just thought we'd toss one out there that try and put our Susan hat on. What would Susan do? And we thought it was strange that the tight end, is only 47% rostered at this point in time. Adam, you looked at that and you were surprised before the show. It was like, my gosh, why is he not rostered more like that? Jacksonville's on the rise.
She says it every week. I think she's mentioned him almost every week. And you look at what he's done. He had double-digit points in the last 2 weeks for the Jaguars. He's back healthy. Trevor Lawrence is probably most consistent receiver since Brian Thomas Jr. is legally dead, apparently. And but yeah, he's a guy that he should be your tight end one, unless you have McBride or maybe Kelsey. If you're Mark Andrews, Strange might be the guy to pick up.
Depends on the matchup. So, might be worth considering. Wouldn't that be strange? No pun intended. Yeah, so Susan, good job on that pick, Susan.
Good job. Every week, I'm going to throw in AJ Barner. So I'm going to go with a guy who he's actually kind of old. I think he's 27 years old, and he was drafted last year.
Yeah.
This is Devon Vele. He played for the Broncos, and he now plays for the New Orleans Saints. Vele is nothing to write home about. Although he was the leading receiver against the amazing Miami Dolphins in a losing game. he had more targets than Chris Olave. Juwan Johnson had the most, but he had 8 targets. He made him into 93 yards and a touchdown. And that's not really, that's one game. Everybody has, we could go down the list of guys that have had good games throughout. What the note that I was noting as I was reading about him is, since Shaheed has been traded, Vele has been playing and has played 87, 89, and 88% of the offensive snaps, which that's what you need if you're in a pretty putrid offense. The best ability on these kind of teams is availability. So if Olave is only going to get 4 receptions for 47, somebody else has to catch. Even bad teams, unless Justin Fields is the quarterback, they're going to throw for $150, 200 yards. Tyler Shuck threw for 239. Tua won with $157. He looked putrid. But that was putrid, $157. And if they've only got 3 guys to throw to, Vele could do that, and he's not a guy you want to start, but he's owned in 3% of leagues, so you can throw him on your waiver team. AD Mitchell, I mentioned earlier, I'd rather have Vele maybe because I think the Saints are no, I don't know. I don't want 2 Jets. That's why I've got a lot of Mitchell.
That's the key. You don't want
Mitchell. I would get AD Mitchell. I've mentioned his name a lot. He wasn't on the list here, but he's really low owned as well. I'd probably take AD Mitchell over Vele, but he's just a guy if you're very thin, if the waiver wire is very thin to look at.
Yeah, the last person I'll toss out here is only in a situation where you really truly need to have some depth at running back. Chris Rodriguez from Washington. He has taken over that backfield in Washington. But again, it is Washington. Now you start throwing in the mix that Jaden Daniels comes back. I think that starts transforming the value of everybody around him. So again, if you don't have Chris Rodriguez or you don't know much about him, do some checking up. He hasn't been rostered very much. It looks like 24% according to my sources. So again, it really truly depends on what your need might be in that situation.
Yes. Do I pick up McLaurin off waivers? Yes. McLaurin shouldn't be on waivers. He stinks this year, but yes.
That's the problem, and I've done that before. And the problem with McLaurin this year is that he's coming back, and he gets hurt in the first game. He comes back, and then he's like gone for another 3 or 4 weeks. It happened already, guys. Check it out. So you want to pick him up because he's got so much talent, but you need to be cautious if you're ever going to try to play him because
it's defense. It's totally defense. I'm not planning to play him, but if I have the roster spot, you're at the point in the season where you're looking you take Blake Corum because you don't want the Williams owners to get him. You look at if you have bench spots and you're saving it for like the 4th string tight end. If you have 3 tight ends on your team, if you have 2 defense, 2 kickers, load them up with guys that play defense against the other people in the playoffs that you're competing against.
Yeah, that would be a defensive movement for sure. But boy, for myself, I'm not sure I can trust him too much. So I would probably be a little bit more hands off. But people who have had McLaurin all season, I'm not sure what you did because you kept him. Right. It's like you got nothing out of him. It was just more of a dead roster spot. So. All right, let's talk about Little Jimmy. Time is getting away from us. So every week we go through a segment called Little Jimmy. It's a start and sit segment. So we have a Little Jimmy coin that will flip. Props to Tank Talk podcast for inspiration. And maybe you're in a situation where you're just not sure who to play. So to save you some pressure, we encourage you to use the start sit coin with our character called Little Jimmy. Flip him. Whatever he does, do that with the player. If it goes well, awesome. But if it doesn't go well, it's not your fault. Little Jimmy told you to do it. So Little Jimmy was hot really early in the season, but not so much now. But again, that one's on Little Jimmy. It was his fault. But you need to do what you need to do. So decide to go with Little Jimmy or not. That's what we do on this show. This week, we are looking at a running back. We're looking at Jaylen Warren, running back from Pittsburgh. On the season, 639 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. Add in 278 receiving yards and a touchdown there too, but they are playing Baltimore. We talked about Baltimore and Pittsburgh earlier this week. He's only projected about 9.5 points with a half PPR, so not stellar. And because Jaylen Warren has been injured this season already, you probably had figured out how do I navigate around him to begin with. But now that he's healthy, now let's figure out, well, should we play him now? Do we trust him? And Little Jimmy, what is Little Jimmy going to tell us to do?
He says to sit Jaylen Warren.
Jaylen Warren. So agree, disagree.
Jaylen Warren, Jaylen Warren, you're playing if you have to. You're not playing if you don't have to. You said it exactly earlier. So I don't think it changes. Like, I think he says to set him. I would set him if I had the option of playing. I mean, you're looking at the like 3rd tier running backs. He's like 20th. Yeah. I mean, I guess he's a running back 2 by yardage, but his touchdowns aren't. So it gets him up to a running back 3 kind of range. But
right
on any given week, Gainwell could outscore him because he gets the receptions. And this week, though, you are missing McCaffrey. You are missing Rico Dowdle. We're missing 2 guys that are running back one. So you're probably needing to fill him in. I was playing Tyrone Tracy who's starting to come up, or Travion Henderson. So there's 4 guys missing. So those teams might have to start, especially if you have 2 of them. That I think you might have to start him, but that's different than should you start him.
That's a really good point. I would love to say play Jaylen Warren because you know how to beat Baltimore. You get a big lead, and you take King Henry out of the equation. That's how you beat Baltimore. Get a big lead. How are you going to do it? Ball control. So I'd love to see Jaylen Warren go off. He hasn't done it very many times this year. That's why I thought it was an intriguing pick to use Jaylen Warren. So, but our standard of were we right or not means that you really had to exceed what those projections were. Not just saying, okay, so we got 10 or 12 points with half PPR, or maybe I got 10 points on standard. No, we're talking, I'd like to see out of him to make us right something in the vicinity of 80 yards and a touchdown or something greater than that. And then maybe throw in maybe a couple receptions on top of it. He's got 27 on the season, and we know that Rodgers is going to have to throw to somebody. So I'd love to see him exceed those kinds of projections, but I don't think he will. And I think Little Jimmy's called it on the head this time. All right. let's check to see if we have any other unfinished business out there. Sharon, as always, we appreciate your commentary, your insights, your questions. Appreciate that as always. I don't see anything else out there. Adam, anything else you've got?
No, I'm excited this week. It's an interesting week of games. I have games that I'm playing to get the bye. If I can beat JJ Wang in one of my leagues, I get a bye. And for me, that is, I don't even mind if I'm the 1 or 2 seed. That bye week means that I get to, in week 15, sit back, put my feet up, and enjoy life. But I guess then I got a couple teams that are. Last week I had one team that's just teasing me. My work league, we had a 14-team league, and it's teasing me that everything that had to happen happened. And this week I literally need like 5 people to lose. I got it's crazy wild what has to happen. But I mean, this team that I have, luckily hasn't scored the most points. But I think on my last check, I had 200 more points against me than the next team. Like people just showed out for me. But once again, it's the same as always. Keep playing. Be that spoiler. I'm building a team in Turf Wars. Sorry, I forget who I was playing. I changed all my screens that I'm playing. I got other teams. I got one team that has Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm in 8th place. 8 teams go in, and if I don't go in, I'm stuck in the consolation bracket where there's only 4 teams. So it's a big playoff, which makes it kind of more interesting. But the goal of that league is not so much the championship or the money; it's the camaraderie and the guys. So they put more guys in there. It's a live league. So it's about making fantasy fun, and that's what these guys do. We do videos every year. It's crazy stuff going on. But yeah, have fun, compete, don't give up, and I encourage leagues. People disagree with me. JJ Wang does as well. As you're looking in the future, do consolation brackets. Give some sort of meaning. In my league where I'm going to be done, my auction league. My consolation bracket, you get a couple bucks of auction money for our draft next year. And it's like 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 3, 1, 10, 8, 7, something like that. So it's not like it's world changing because you'll drop $60 on Saquon this year and he gets nothing. So it's not world changing, but it gives value. This is a game. Let's play for a while. Why stop in the beginning of December?
Yeah, I like that. Give somebody a reason to play. And put in their best rosters every week. And we would hope everybody would do that naturally. But one of the old leagues that I was in, an old work league, did something like that too, that every week you still had an opportunity to at least get some money off the table. That would help you.
Stuff.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Adam, as always, great show, great conversation here. If anybody at home feels like you got a lot of value out of this show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share the show with everybody you know. And as always, tons and tons of fun here every week. Bring somebody, listen in. Adam, where can we find you?
Hey, you can check me out. I got everything on our website, thefantasycouriers.com. It's linked right there below me. And I just got my thing. I'm the 58th ranked ranker for week 13, which after some of that demolition is pretty good out of 163. My season's still kind of hit or miss, but I'll put stuff on there. I'm getting ready to put up an article. It was like Studs and Duds article. I got it right before Wednesday at lunchtime to get that up. There wasn't any articles last week, so I'm gonna pop that up for Fantasy Pro. That's a fun little side thing. You can listen to Fantasy Couriers every week. We post a show Sunday night. We got a new thing where I might even start some live shows. So I'm gonna teeter with some of those, maybe some Sunday night live shows, just to see how it works. So keep an eye out for that if you're on the Fantasy Couriers Facebook page. I think that's where Sharon's watching from tonight. So we'll just live stream on there. It's not going to change anything, but it just makes it fun. Do something different. We can pop on there and
love it.
Have fun with that through Riverside.
Very cool. Oh, Riverside. Oh, Riverside?
Riverside, yes. They host our programs.
Very good. Nice shameless plug there, Adam, but great work as always. I am Cameron. I am here to help support Shelter Dogs for Veterans. And as Corey closes out each week, be excellent to each other, be kind, and until next time, keep moving forward. See ya.